Hello folks, welcome back to Return of the Rovers. Promotion party is done, over, finito, we're back. And in preparation for the Premiership, where else could we start other than transfers? So let's start with the outs, all those folk that are not going to cut the mustard in the Premiership. Chris Erskine's gone to Portsmouth, 100k. Next up, Jason Steele gone to Charlton, 400k. His value was dwindling last year in the contract, wasn't going to play. David Herrera's numero uno. Danny Guthrie, queen of the moaners, again released, and no one wants to take a punt on him because he's a prick and he's got stupid hair. Jason Lowe, he wanted a ridiculously large contract, which I was not prepared to give him. So he went and he's joined Derby and he's now worth 5.25 million. Whoopsie. A great servant for Blackburn, but barely played last season and rating suffered. As you can see, he's had one game so far this season for Derby with a 6.4, so it looks like he's continuing where he left off for us last season. Matthew Kilgallen. Now, I did say, I think in episode 9, if you've not seen episode 9, go back, watch episode 9, click the link as per usual floating around the screen somewhere. Now, this is where editing me needs to do something. Or uploading me. I've got multiple personalities. Maybe I should be locked up. White coat, etc. He was supposed to go to Rochdale. In the end, he rejected their contract. He left on a free to Fleetwood instead. First of the surprises, I say first of the surprises, probably the only surprise in this list, is Ben Watson. Had a great season for us last year. Villa came sniffing around. I rejected the offer. Then he comes and asks for a new contract. I told him to f**k off because I'm not giving him a 3-year contract on like 30 grand a year when he's already 31, just about to turn 32. Villa came back in, I accepted, don't care. Sad to see you go, old chap, but f**k off. John O'Sullivan, another one who failed really to make the grade. Connor Mahoney, yet another one failing to make the grade. And even now, my scouts don't think he's a worthwhile signing. And the rest are pretty much loans where the players aren't anywhere near close to the first team, and I want them off the wage bill. Because now it's time for the ins. You'll see why, because we have spent lots of money. Loads of money. Thank you, Harry. Adama Bar. Adama Bar. Won't do that every time. Can't promise that either. Bought him in because he's young, worth a load, considering it's a free transfer, and looks like he can perform quite well in that false 9 role. Jose Canas. I toyed with the idea of signing him, and then toyed against it, toyed with it, toyed against it, toyed with it, and then I thought, fuck it, I'm going to do it. Signed him. Not quite a like-for-like replacement for Ben Watson, but great mental attributes, so even if he's used as a mentor for younger players, could be a worthwhile investment. Had a bit of an indifferent start so far, only played 4 times. Again, finding his feet. Although we have got a number of Spanish players, so maybe we should just grow a pair. Christopher Olsen. First of the big money, I say big money, 3 million. We've never had such a creative player, and he can play pretty much everywhere really. If he wanted, if we needed him out wide, he can cover those positions. He can play just behind the striker or in midfield, which is where we're likely to play him, because we're probably going to carry on using the same tactic that got us promoted until it all falls to pieces, and inevitably I need to rethink, and then we probably go with like 8 at the back because we're getting bummed by Chelsea. Will Hughes. I've never signed Will Hughes before because he's never been available, or like other clubs would come in for him, and so his value was astronomical and you'd have to pay like 20 million to get him. 4.4 because Derby got relegated from the Premiership. This is the first of my double raid on Derby. It was nearly a triple raid, but Tom Ince is a money grabbing mother. This has been a really sweary episode, really sweary. I bleep them out. I bleep most of them out. There are some I miss. Sorry, Mum. There are a few clauses in his contract, so that value may increase as per performance, but 45k a week, that's the highest wage I've had to pay, well, ever. 4.5-star potential. This guy could be amazing, and if not, we'll sell him on for shitloads. So come on, Big Willie, or Little Willie, or Blonde Willie, any of the above. Part 2 of the Derby raid. Idion Agalo, arguably a bigger bargain than any of the others, was worth 4.5, relegation release clause 1.6. In real life, he's had a great first season in the Premiership with Watford. He's most likely the first choice striker at the moment. A young little backup on a free transfer from Juve is Joran Josipovic, hashtag pronunciation. He was on a free, not earning a huge amount, not expecting to play. Kyle Walker, again, available for like half his value on a relatively high wage and a long contract. Adam Henley is frequently injured, although he's younger, proven at Premiership level, and look at that for an average rate, 8.05 for an average rating in 4 games. Yes, 4 games, I hear you say, but 2 assists out of that 4 for a fullback. Ryan Bennett brought in on a free transfer, and again, another backup, playing for a pittance as well. Yes, he's not worth much, but he's got a bit of extra pace, and with the centre-halves we have kept in Shane Duffy and Grant Hanley, they're not overly quick, so we need someone, should we be playing against a slightly quicker opposition front line, he gives us that option from the bench or in cup games. Matej Mitrovic. I don't know where the red arrows have come from. 23 years old, decent potential, earning next to nothing, and he cost 3.5 mil. Really solid and probably our best and most well-rounded centre-half that we have in terms of good technical attributes, good mental attributes, and then solid physical attributes. We've had a massive recruitment drive and brought in a load of coachy people. So we welcome back Paul Scholes. His time at Preston, as we predicted, I didn't go so well. Why do I have to go in and then look at the youth coaches separately away from the rest of the coaching team? It makes no sense. So on the under-21 side, we brought in Andy Watson as an assistant manager, didn't have one before, and Danny Lewis, who's got an interesting haircut. I'm not sure why I'm obsessed with haircuts today. Corro, yet another Spaniard. We might as well rename the stadium to Costa del Ewood. Oh, George Luque, or Jorge. I'll stop. Fabrice and Deli Adi Bola. And we now have a director of football who I'm probably not going to let do anything, but look at that. Look at that. He is earning I think he's earning more than me. But more importantly, I'm on the favoured personnel list. Me! Favoured personnel! Jesus Christ. Perhaps I should have actually started at the start of the season. You know, I first came back in the Premier League, but no, I thought there may be too much hyperbole and maybe the team would not perform. Kind of like being a porn star in front of everyone for the first time. Because I've obviously got massive experience in that. So, after a brief costume change, because this numpty forgot to record the rest of the episode, I thought it'd be useful to add some context to show you the goals from the matches that we've played so far before the next episode, where we'll bring you the first live comm of our 3rd season against Chelsea. As you can see, we've just conceded against Crystal Palace via a corner, which is excellent start to the season. Anyway, that leads to Igalo running deep, playing the ball into Hall, who then crosses for Marshall, and there was the equaliser, and that is how the game finished. Quite a boring game in the end, despite our 4 clear-cut chances. What the f***? The game against Bournemouth, however, was completely mental. We went down quite early on in the game to a Fellaini header. Oh, I forgot about that. Bournemouth went 2-0 up from an own goal from our new signing at centre half, introducing himself well to the fans with own goal. Great. However, we pinched a goal back late on in the game. Bournemouth at this point had a player sent off, which, well, played into our hands perfectly, and that is when the game turned. I was gutted because I would have got the elusive come back from 2 goals down at half-time's achievement, but no, had to be after half-time when Bournemouth scored their second. Absolute pricks. I say they scored their second, we scored the second for them. Anyway, Ben Marshall with the goal there, and then we had a penalty, he missed it, and I thought, oh well, that's the game gone, but no. We persevered, and Henley deciding to switch it over to Walker. Walker with a cross, and Igalo thumps it in from about 2 yards out. And Fellaini gets a yellow card, abusing officials. Well, that's my job, so leave that down to me. The third goal came from a breakdown in Bournemouth's attacking play. We countered, Hall down the left, Igalo header, pretty much carbon copy, just different wing. I'm not complaining. We win 3-2 for our first win of the season. This Leicester game was the perfect example of how stats can be completely deceiving. We had more shots, more on target, but no, failed to put them to the sword, and in fact Leicester played a lot better than we did. However, we did come back from that early setback midway through the first half with Rob Hall. We've put our differences aside, we're fine. He's now my brother from another mother, no longer a pick from a dick. Don't mention that. Don't tweet him about that. That's not very nice. But Leicester's second, some nice build-up play, and it was eventually, although that was questionable by Kolarov, and then Vardy misses his first chance. He came on as a sub, and then he gets a second bite of the cherry and heads it in. Known for his heading, Jamie Vardy, obviously. Look at that haircut. We're also back to our own tricks in the Capital One Cup, and we lasted so long in that. Wolford with a cross. James, in fact, all of their goals are fucking identical. James, you see, carbon copy, absolutely carbon copy of every single goal they scored. In fact, let's just forward to the. Oh, we're already here. Every single goal across, everyone a header. This was a game we completely dominated and was a stark contrast to our performance against Peterborough. Adama Bar got a nice brace, although goals were very similar from right side crosses and headed from the far post region, as you can see there. Westwood had very little chance with either of the goals. To Walker, Marshall, again, Bar, header over the keeper. Although the tactic looks the same here, I have tweaked it slightly, but I'm going to cover that in the next episode. And that little segue neatly brings us on to the next game, which is against Chelsea. So, comments below, how many goals do you think we're going to concede? I'm going to go for 4. I think 4 is conservative, and we'll leave it there. If you've liked today's episode of Return of the Rovers, then don't forget to tickle that like button for me like you have been doing. If you'd like to see more of the same, and you'd like to be notified of when I upload videos, which is usually on a Sunday if you haven't gathered by now, then click that subscribe button. You can also follow me on Twitter if you really want to. But for now, folks, it's goodbye from me. Thanks for watching.